Hello everyone, my name is Caitlin Minnie and welcome to this design challenge titled Becoming an Advocate for Language Learning. The intended grade level is 6th grade, and the 3 learning goals I wanted to have addressed for this design challenge is students being able to define keywords and the understanding of language learning. 2, students will be able to share experiences of their own language learning experience. 3, students will be able to implement their knowledge of language learning by creating a short comic book based on the language experience they have discussed. The challenge goal is going to be for students to be able to create a comic book using their knowledge of language learning issues in education, find solutions. And this Common Core standard is going to be CCSS ELA Literacy L6.6, which generally states acquire and use accurately grade-appropriate general academic and domain-specific words and phrases to gather vocabulary knowledge and concerning a word or phrase important to comprehension and expression. And the steps I've laid out for the 60 to 90 minute lesson is that from 9, taking 10 minutes, it's going to be an introduction to the lesson. So we'll start with a PowerPoint on the brief history of language learning and how that contributes to the starter questions that will ask, what is a first language you have learned? And if you could learn any language, what would it be? For the next 10 minutes, we're going to begin the lesson, and students will expand their knowledge from the PowerPoint and read a section of an article handout. It will generally be about a paragraph long that I will give them, and they will highlight any words or phrases that they need either for their clarification or they found interesting, and then they will share one phrase or word from the article that summarizes the importance. And I'll probably take 2 to 3 volunteers for that. And for the next 30 minutes, we'll discuss the challenge, and students will, with their knowledge of the brief history and article account of the United States, they will now dive into the challenge. The challenge starts with asking a class question on what is equity, and I'm going to take a couple volunteers on what they think it is. And if everyone is unsure or majority is unsure, I'm going to share the definition with them. And the next step, we'll have them take time to think of an instance where language learning was a struggle for them or someone they knew. And then they will create a 4 to 8 panel about the experience, in which I will show mine for reference. Student work time will be for 30 minutes. And this will take the time for the class to log into Pixton, which is this website that's going to be for creating the comics. I'm going to log into it real quick, so I show just a basis on what we have. So we can sign in with our accounts. I'm going to use my account that I used, and what's going to happen is I have 2 projects that I'm working on, but I have this first one that is the example I will show to them in the class. And this is a fairly easy process. I will allow them to play with it a little bit so they can see that the new comic base is something they put in. My first comic is something they could use as a topic. And basically they're going to go into, they can use a background, characters, focus, words, and along the process, I'm going to show them more in depth on how to use it. Then that's what they will be achieving through their student work time. Then after all that is done, if they cannot get to a complete 8 panels, that is perfectly fine, just enough to get them started, because this can be something they finish at home for homework. For 15 minutes, there's share time with peers, and after their 30 minutes have passed, they can take 15 minutes to discuss with the person behind them. It will encourage students to share, to use the statements that initiate insightful conversations, such as I noticed or I wonder. The class discussion will appear after the peer share out, and everyone will turn their attention. We will all get a conversation starting on one noticing and one wondering about that share time and our work time. And then I will ask if they have any remaining questions. The final portion will be the assessment. Students, before they leave, it will be their exit ticket, in which they will put out their name. And these are questions based on what they learned, sharing their comics so I can see what they started. And that will be the conclusion of this design challenge. Thank you.